I hope everybody can see that slide.
Yep, very good.
Okay, so it's our January 23rd meeting. I think it's our 37th Zoom call. And John
Wow.
Paul is here, and I'm here, and Murray Lincoln's here. And those are our email addresses if you want to get to us after this session for any questions or any comments, feel free to send us an email. Tonight's discussion, again, will open like we always do with just a welcome and open for any questions or comments that may have come up since our last time together on a Zoom call. Norbert Axtmann's with us tonight, and he's going to take care of the All About Us piece, and we'll learn a little bit more about Norbert and his carving experience and see some of his really nice carvings. John Lemay has attended the Toronto Wood Carving Show. I think that was last weekend, right, John?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So John's got a PowerPoint presentation and on some of the things he saw at the wood carving show. And John, if you want to add anything about what's going on with the OWCA, and that goes for you too, Murray, that'd be a good time to do that during that discussion about the wood carving show. There's only one upcoming show, and we'll talk about that, and it's in Belleville, and that's coming up fairly soon. And then what's on the bench? We had a number of people send in photos of their current carvings, so we'll take a look at those as well. Some really nice carvings were sent in. And then we'll pick up where we left off with the December-January challenge, and that was the whole notion of getting better, each of us getting better at carving round caricatures, so less squarish or flat caricatures, more round in the caricature. And John Paul started us off with a discussion and a demonstration of a baseball bat, and so a perfect example of something that has to be round. And a few of you sent in your examples of that, and so we'll take a look at those. And John Paul will just remind us of the different steps that go into making that for those who haven't had a chance to do that yet. And then I'm going to pick up from there and talk about a carving that I've brought to several places. And again, it's a good opportunity to look at a simple carving, maybe a 3-4 hour carving, 2 hours if you're fast. But again, it's all about carving a caricature in the round. So a simple carving, and that'll be tonight's challenge to take that on after you do the baseball bat. And then if anybody has any tips, tricks, or techniques, we'll talk about that as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and so everybody can see one another. And we'll start with any questions or comments from the last session. The floor is open to you. I thought for sure there'd be questions about baseball in general. No. Okay, then. Well, let's get started. And if you think of a question that we should be addressing, just let us know. This is a little bit different, Murray. Give me a second to work through this. Okay. All right. So Norbert, if you want to unmute and talk a little bit about yourself and some of the carvings, I put them, I think, in the order that you sent them, so you'll have to kind of bounce around a little bit.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. I'm still a little bit wet behind the ears, I feel. Started carving in 2016 at the local senior center, and it was 3 hours a week for the most part. They've expanded the hours now, so we can do a little bit more. But it was sort of one day shot, and I was just out and trying different types of carvings. We do have an incredible caricature carver, Ward Wright, in the group. And he led several workshops and kind of introduced me to caricature carving. And these are two. The first one is the Axeman, and that's kind of a play off of my last name, which is Axtmann or Axeman. So he's the wood carver, and that was a great exercise. We moved on to the drunk with the dog. just elaborated a bit more and introduced a little bit of a diorama, if you like, to it, a little bit of a scene. And I really enjoy putting a scene to it so that the caricature has a story to it.
Nice caricature. I like that can. I'm really attracted to the can, the way you made the little dent in it. So that's all carved out of wood. And then what did you paint it just with silver?
Yes, silver and some black dry brush over it to create the shadows or the depth. Yeah.
Really looks smart.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. It was a learning experience. The painting in itself, one thing is the carving. The second thing is getting the painting figured out. But we have a really good program leader at the senior center there, and she's an artist, and she's great help with that.
I like the dog with a cocked ear head there. That's
Yeah,
a lot of movement there, a lot of action.
Yeah.
just kind of hiding behind them.
Yeah, that's nice.
I like the way he did the shirt on that guy.
Yeah, that is really good. The plaid shirt. That's
Well,
quite.
the plaid was an absurd amount of work.
Yeah.
It's all wood burned and then hand painted. But it came out surprisingly well. Yeah, the first attempt at anything like that.
Mm. Nice movement.
Norbert, can I ask a question? Where are you located?
In Brampton.
Brampton, okay.
Yeah, yeah. At the Bob Callahan Flower City Senior Center is the full name of the place. Yeah. Then we progressed. We did another the guy I can dig it or the digger. Um, kind of like the Let's Boogie logos that were out in the 70s and 80s on the sides of vans, the guys with the big feet and nose and everything. It was fun. It was all one piece. Very interesting to carve out and try to keep it in one piece. And I just wanted to try it with a natural finish to it. As opposed to the two previous that I painted. On the right is one that I just did quickly before Oktoberfest one year, and we just had it on display at the German club that I belong to in our display case. I also danced with the folk dance group, so that was part of our display for the New Year's festivities and also for Oktoberfest. On the left is a challenge that we undertook as a group. We got a piece of bark and we had to create a grotesque, wrinkled, gnarly, kind of ugly character. And it was pretty interesting to see what everybody came up with. I played around with a sanding wheel and kind of brushed it afterwards, which really brought out the grain in the bark, almost in steps or layers there. Kind of interesting to look at. Bark's quite an interesting medium to work with.
So that's cottonwood bark then.
That's cottonwood bark, yes. Yeah. On the right is a Christmas exercise we did as a group. It was just a Santa ornament, and I looked at it. I looked at some of the Christmas junk we had around, and we had this dollar store illuminated icicle that changed colors. And before I carved it, I drilled out the bottom of the block, and that was kind of became an extension of the Santa's beard. Different and it was kind of fun to do.
Yeah, what a great idea. I've never seen anything like that. I'm gonna have to give that a try, in fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
On the left is one of my more recent ones, back to bark, and I wanted to get away from the whimsical gnome style crooked houses and things like that. And what it was going to be is a play off of a cuckoo clock. And it was going to be a little bit more whimsical than it ended up. Once I started going, I kind of changed my path, and so the top of it is kind of a little more typical bark carving, but the bottom evolved into just a cluster of oak leaves and acorns, and then it was hogged out, and it actually has two smaller um, uh, pine cones, if you like. On the inside, they're on some brass chain, and they represent the weights used to wind a typical cuckoo clock. This one is non-functioning. It's just a quartz movement. It tells time, but cuckoo's stuck out all the time.
Nice. You did a nice
Yeah.
job. If that's cottonwood, you did a nice job on those leaves.
Yeah, the leaves were incredibly difficult. I think I ended up carving them 3 times over because they would break. I would lose pieces of them. Um, I tried to create the veining raised as opposed to cut in, and that was difficult to keep the bark in one piece for that.
Hmm.
On the right is a piece we did. It was just actually the character, and I looked at him and I chose to mount him on a. He's a steel worker of the 20s. We see these guys all walking around on beams without any safety gear and their tools, and kind of a neat symbol of how the technologies in building has changed. So the base at the bottom is actually a 3D perspective uh, drawing from above, and I know it's difficult to make out. It didn't transfer the greatest. It was an experiment, uh, and I printed it on a piece of freezer paper, which is like wax paper, on an inkjet printer, and then turned it upside down on top of the piece and burnished it off of the freezer paper onto the wood. And it's a neat way of transferring images, either color or black and white or black in this case. I created a couple of steel beams and a lunchbox toolbox, a couple bolts and a wrench to uh, just add some interest to it.
It really looks sharp.
Cool.
It's probably not too late to go over some of that with a wood burning tool as well, Norbert, if you wanted to darken it up.
Yeah. I didn't have any wood burners at the time, and I
Yeah.
didn't have any experience, and I wanted to get it sort of finished.
Yeah, but
But
that's a really nice addition to that carving. That really looks smart.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. On the left is my Celtic dragon, and this was a real challenge. I didn't have a scroll saw, I didn't have a bandsaw, and that was a full 1 inch piece of basswood, and everything is carved out, all the openings and everything with a knife, and it was a very painful process. I since have both a bandsaw and a scroll saw. But I've always liked it. It was a tattoo that I downloaded off the internet, or a picture of it, and I did the same thing. I printed the pattern to size on an inkjet, and then transferred it onto the wood, so I didn't have to draw it. I just basically worked off of the image. And then I hung it on a piece of mahogany as a contrast to it. On the right is one of my first relief carvings, which is again the Celtic theme there. Just an axe that play off my last name, and the sort of Celtic weave that I find interesting.
So this is all relief, like that. You didn't do the emblem and glue it onto a board. That's all relieved out of that.
It's all relieved, yes.
Yeah, that's really well done. You're a master at making things look metal. So you were saying you paint it with a silver first, and then you dry brush with black to get that look.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, really looks good.
yeah. As I said, we have our program leader is an artist by trade, and she's phenomenal when it comes to stuff like that. The stuff that she's taught us
That's
is
terrific.
wonderful. Yeah, we did a couple Christmas ornaments. This is basically a relief, I'll call it. That's the spruce Santa, I call him. And just a play off of the boughs on the tree converting into the beard. And to the right is uh, I I was on this cuckoo clock kind of theme, and I had a couple of pieces from a cuckoo clock carver in Germany that I met. And he gave me a couple to take home, and I brought one of these trees in, and everybody liked it. And we said, let's make a Christmas ornament following that style. So this was a Christmas ornament. I did it kind of as a natural tree. I have a little bit of gold highlighting along the bottom edges of the leaves. And I don't know if have you got the back of the tree?
I don't, I think, oh, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So the front of it was the natural tree, and the back of it was the Charlie Brown tree, or what the tree's going to look like after a while.
Yeah,
So again, just had a little bit of fun. I had a canvas on the back of it that I said I got to do something with it.
very nice.
One of our members here tonight, Elliot, led a workshop on doing a Santa face ornament. And this was what I ended up following Elliot's lead on that, and we had some really nice figures come out of the workshop.
I like the hat, like the way you've done the hat with all of the undulations there. That really brings something to a carving. And you know, you could have done that very simply just by making it smooth, but the fact you have all of those curves going on and valleys, that really brings out the carving.
Yeah, and a little bit use of other colors. That's actually a dark blue in there to create the shadow
Really nice.
around the edges and in the fold. And again, that was something that Elliot kind of taught us how to do that, which so a real great learning experience, and it's nice to be able to tap into some of the more talented people to find out how they do things.
That's great. Well, those are beautiful, Norbert. Any comments or questions for Norbert?
Beautiful work, Wayne from Wispamsis. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'd like
He is
to
really
add,
creative.
yeah, he is. I'd like to add that the Santa took an award at the last show that we had this weekend. In fact, he beat me out. So, and I had the same piece in the show. So, yeah, it was well done. Yeah. So the student has bettered the teacher.
That's why he was being so nice to you. He was just apologizing.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, that's great. It's great work for him. Yeah,
Really nice.
well done. Excellent stuff.
I have to say, it's always interesting to do a project like this to see the variations that come out, where everybody goes with it. They all start out being basically the same thing and end up being totally different things. It's real neat to see.
Nice.
Yeah, you can't carve the same thing twice, like
No.
exactly the same thing twice. It's just yeah.
Well
True.
done, Norbert. And your last name is pronounced Axtmann?
No, Axtmann.
It is Axman. Okay.
In German, it would be Axtmann,
Okay.
and that's
Okay.
what it is, the Axeman.
The
Yeah.
Axman. Okay. Well, thank you for that. That was a terrific display.
All very
Okay.
good, Robert. All very good. Norbert, sorry.
Norbert. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that was terrific. We're going to talk a little bit about the Toronto Woodworking Show, and I'm going to stop sharing here, and Murray is going to help John Lemay share his screen, I think.
And just as John Lemay is getting ready to do that, I want to give you a short update. John Lemay, tonight, we're officially introducing him as the new president for the Ontario Woodcarvers Association.
Great.
And already when he hit the ground, he was running really fast. What happened was that I originally had planned with Gina Downs to be at the Toronto Wood Show and set up an area where we would teach people how to carve and give them hands-on experience. And 1 week before that, I found out that I probably will not be traveling to too many shows anymore. For at least for a little while. I've got a heart condition that they said you don't pick things up and carry it, and it's one of those issues that comes along for some of us. So, and that's my issue now. But John Lemay has picked it up in a great way. He was there, and this is what our story tonight is going to be about: the great things that happened in Toronto this last weekend. And John, are you ready?
I am. Can you see the slide?
I can see you first, and then you click on share screen.
There we go. How's
Perfect.
that?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting us talk about the Ontario Woodcarvers Association and the Toronto Woodworking Show. I just thought I'd go through our mission statement with you. Ontario Woodcarvers Association. Our our mission is to help interested public get started in wood carving, help current carvers increase their carving skills, and assist and promote all carving clubs within Ontario in order to direct new and experienced carvers to their location. This show certainly has done that well. This is our booth right before the storm, and we have 2 display tables, and we had 4 tables to help teach in. So we had a very large space to work with. These are because Murray was going to be doing this. He has a whole pile of wands. I think he has like 60 of them. So anyway, so we had to put a few together right before the show. So this is what Claire and I put together. So the show got really busy really fast, and so Claire would help in getting all the gloves and knives and thumb guards and waivers and everything else ready for each and every student as I started teaching every student. It was crazy busy.
Hmm.
Over the 3-day period, we had 118 people sign up
Holy
for the
moly.
Wow.
and out of that 118, we had about 3 that didn't complete their wands.
Mhm.
So it was really, really good. We had several onlookers. You could see see all the crowd around the table, and we had several onlookers all the time, and we had a huge crowd all the time around the booth. The every single one of them received one-on-one teaching, and I tell you, I had so much great response from everybody. They all thanked us very much at the end of each when each one left. It was very good. These 2 guys here, they started carving almost at the same time. They didn't know each other, but they both spent about 4 hours carving these wands. They
Really?
did it amazing. Yeah, and none of these people had ever used a knife before. and they're just these wands are just outstanding. And anyway, the four of them were sitting next to each other. They didn't know each other, and by the end of it, they were good friends. So that's one thing I really like about carving. It does that a lot.
Mhm.
Just to mention here, John, too, that each one of those carvers that came in had to pay $20 for the show to get in. And
That's
to
right.
spend a majority of their time at the show sitting at the table carving a wand, that is a miracle.
That's absolutely right. And the funny thing is, so we had 118 that registered, signed the waiver, but we had some of them actually come back the next day to carve again. So
Wow.
it was really, really good. This lady here, she had never touched a knife before either. And if you could get a good look at that wand, it wasn't sanded. Everything about that wand was perfectly smooth. It's like she had been carving for many, many years. And when she was done, I said, "Are you sure you haven't carved before?" She says, "No, no, this is my first time. It's so fun." So it was a very rewarding experience to see things like
What a
that.
success.
Yeah,
Now,
it was
now, are
very.
we looking at the knife that she would have used there with the wood handle?
That's correct. I had about 12 knives that I had, and most of them were rough cut knives. So that's what most of them used. And they started with a square block, 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch by 8 inch, and it was pine. So a little harder to carve,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody did an extremely good job.
What a success, John.
It really was. It really was.
Did you give them designs, John, so that they'd have a guide to go by on?
So we had those wands that I showed you at first.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the only thing we had. And so I helped show them how to draw it up and all that stuff. So, but nothing was pre-cut. Everything was, they had to cut everything themselves. So, and so if you notice, there's a parent in behind the child there. We had we had 18 kids altogether and 100 adults. But every time we did have anybody under 18, we asked the parents to stay there and watch. And some of them were there for well over an hour, watching their child work on their carving, and they loved it. And they would ask me lots of questions, and where do I get knives, and where can I go for clubs? I got asked that a lot by almost everybody that was there. Enjoyed it. They couldn't believe how fun and how relaxing it was. They thought they could never do anything like this before. So it was a very fulfilling time, although I was exhausted by the end of the weekend.
Just
So
John,
that's
point out, John, if you could point out there, the table in the background of this picture is one of our clubs, right?
actually that particular one. The clubs were on the other, facing the other way. So that particular club was a boat making club, miniature boats. Yeah, we had the entire space. We had about 2,000 square feet of space back there, and to have that amount of space in the International Center, you imagine how much that would have cost? And that was all free to all the clubs that wanted to be there. And so the clubs that were there, they did extremely well. Um, we had some clubs there that actually got new members that signed up and paid up on that day. And usually you hear, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'd like to go. Yeah, I'll go." And at the end of it all, you never see anybody. But there, we had one club that on the Friday we had 56 people sign up.
Wow.
56 people on the Friday.
That's
So it
amazing.
was extremely successful.
Good
The
job.
club said that they think that they should be doing this from now on as well.
Yeah. Good job.
So this is I'll be showing you some of the pictures of the exhibitors of the competition. Unfortunately, I was so crazy busy that some of these pictures are done really quickly, and I missed out on some others because I was pulled away all the time. So this one here, there was several entries across. This was a great big long table. What you see behind you there is some of the clubs back there. See the Burlington Club there, the Niagara Falls Club, the uh, the uh, the Waterloo Club. This is pyrography. They have really good pieces there. And these relief carvings were really good. You see some of the relief carving, like this one over here. I don't know if you can see my mouse going around.
Mm-hmm.
That one there is almost a fully 3D.
Hmm.
These the ones with the wine glasses, those hands are standing right out. So really well done. There's a big section of birds, including a big bird. This particular area here, what I really impressed me about this was some of the mounting that they used for the birds. Did a great job with that. There a lot of unique ways of mounting the birds. We got some owls here. While the people were carving with us, a lot of them would comment about, I can't believe how real those birds look. And these are some of them. They got some animals here. And in behind the whale there, you see this is an outstanding carving here. We got a big frog. I don't know what to say about that one. And the next one here, I love this little guy. This guy is not so little. He's about I would say 15 inches long.
Hmm.
So he's pretty big. Looks really good. This is the best carving in the whole show. That's my wolf. No, I guess that would be true.
Yeah.
So, and
That is a nice carving.
this one here, that's for intermediate, and this one over across here, the ballerina. The ballerina is the skirt of the ballerina is absolutely amazing. The skirt itself is all paper thin.
Hmm.
And so underneath the skirt, underneath the skirt here, there is no wood underneath there. It goes right up to the belly.
Hmm.
So and all paper thin. It's beautiful, beautiful piece. And bit of a marquetry on the bottom here. This is in that one is the last of the human there, the pirate. Really, that's been in a couple shows now. It's extremely well done. The story one here that's one of mine. And this dog hiking, that's one of mine as well. If you notice, he on his walking stick, he has a human head on it. And this is the caricature section for intermediate, and they had a lot of competition this time. You notice a lot of the pieces are small. This was the only chainsaw carving that there was. It was really well done. And this is the marquetry section. And this one here only got honorable mention, the chessboard. I thought it was amazing. You see how all the pieces go. So these are great big pieces here and small pieces, and to have no spaces. And if you see where my arrow is, I'm going around. There's a chess piece that mimics this chess piece here. I thought it was extremely well done.
We'll probably give you a few more minutes, John, and then we'll keep
I'm
moving.
just
Is that
about
okay?
done. Yeah,
Great.
I'm just about done. So there's the best of shows and best of class. This is where I missed out. I got called away, and then I didn't get a chance to go back. The best piece here is these chickens were so cool. And then finally, the best of show was this duck here, and it was outstanding. The feathers here were outstanding. The how thin the feathers were, it was extremely well done. And that was best of show.
Who did the
So
duck?
that was it for the show. If anybody have any
I think you had a
questions
question.
or
I think you had a question there, John.
Who did the duck?
again, I was so rushed, I wasn't
Okay.
able to write down names or anything, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
Just as you're just asked that question, the fellow that asked the question is Doug, and he's way over there in cold Winnipeg right tonight.
Oh, welcome.
And Doug, explain a little bit of why the question about the Doug. What do you do with about the duck? What do you do about ducks and such in your life?
I do nothing. I'm not a bird guy. But the carving in Manitoba, from a show and competition standpoint, I would say has its roots in decoys, traditional decoy, waterfowl. That goes back 35, 40 years. Since the advent of Prairie Canada carvers, yes, the waterfowl was the main thing, but we've tried to expand into the bark carvings, caricature carvings, and all that sort of stuff. But and we've got our roots in waterfowl, I guess you'd say, out here. At last year's show in Winnipeg, I forget the gentleman's name, Bob Lavender, I think, from the Saskatoon area. He did a hawk, and he's known for doing waterfowl, and did a masterpiece too, similar to the quality that we've just seen in that duck.
So this show in Winnipeg is, what is it called?
Okay, it's called the Prairie Canada Carvers Association's annual show and competition, or expo. Prairie Canada Carvers Association is a committee of about 12 people, 12 carvers of various genres, and various clubs. I call it, we're a committee made up of members from other clubs within Winnipeg. And the Prairie Canada Carvers puts on the biggest annual show and competition in Winnipeg, Manitoba. There is another group that works out of Fort White. Fort White is a nature preserve, for lack of better words. And that club is strictly, or I shouldn't say strictly, primarily waterfowl, decoys, birds, that kind of stuff.
Good. Okay, thanks, guys. And thanks, John Lemay, for that. John, you're going to have to unshare somehow. Oh, you did it. Great. And
Mark,
yeah.
can I add, I know he won't blow his own horn, so I will blow it for him. The birds, the chickens, were carved by Norbert Axtmann.
Oh, very good.
And he got third best in show.
Fantastic.
For that.
I'm glad you raised that up.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, John Lemay, for that. That was really good. All right, and so from there, we'll go back to our agenda here and upcoming shows. So the Quinte Wood Carving Show is coming up. That's in Belleville. That's April 12th, 2025. If you see me there, wish me a happy birthday. It's held at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center, and they've got a lot of information out on registration now and guidelines for the competition. So check out their website at quintewoodcarvers.ca. Really good show. I've been there many, many times, and it's really a well done show. So if you can make it to it, certainly try to get out there.
There is one more show coming in June. That'll be the international
Right.
show up in Waterloo. And so they'll get the dates on that. I can't remember what the date is. If it's in June, about the third week, I think, something of that sort.
It's June 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so we got a couple exciting things to do early spring. Okay, so let's turn to what's on the bench. A number of you send in some really nice carvings, and we'll give you a chance to talk a little bit about them. So, Larry, why don't you start us off?
Hi. Can you hear me there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can.
Alrighty. Yeah, this year I did a lady's face. I've been trying to do different types of carvings, and this is a piece of pine. It's about 22 inches long, and I wanted to do something with the hair and that as something a little different as a garden piece. And anyway, I did this. It took me quite a while. It was about 2 inches thick, and trying to get the hair some sort of design that I wanted to do, and to make the face pretty. I did a little bit of wood burning on the eyebrow or eyelashes, and different things around the beads and that. But yeah, I think I was very pleased with it. Like I say, I keep trying to different types of carvings, and there's a lady's face.
Nice. And what kind of wood did you say that was, Larry?
This is a piece of pine.
Piece of pine. Yeah.
That other picture I sent long ago with a big beaver I did for a guy's sign. Anyway, this is made of leftover the blank that I had a little piece left over, and decided to do something different. But I liked it because the grain showed up in the face really well.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thanks, Larry. Bob, I've got a couple slides here from you. If you're there, you might be on mute.
Yeah, okay. Was on mute. Yeah. This is a boot. We got together a couple of guys and carved boots. This was a butternut boot, and I hollowed it out and put a couple of dowels in the sole just to line it everything up when I put it back together again. I've got 3 done so far, but all a little bit different, but some are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the laces are, they don't go right through the boot. I just drilled holes in it, and I inserted a leather lace into the hole and glued it in.
You did a little bit of wood burning for stitching, I see.
Yes, the stitching was wood burnt, but it was also done with a leather punch.
Oh.
For making the lace, not the laces, but the sewing. And I just tapped this little leather punch all the way around it to make it look like it was sewed.
Really nice.
This was just a little horse we did at our East End Clutch. One of the guys he cut out the blanks, and we just carved these horses out, and we're going to paint them this week.
Very nice. Okay, any questions or comments for Bob? I should have also asked, were any questions for Larry and his portrait of the woman? Okay, thanks. Baz, I got a couple slides for you.
Yes, thanks. So those are my current work on the bench right now. So I'm doing 2 miniature Canadian goose that are smoothies. So my next step is to work on the wings, and they'll be mounted on the goose, but it's a smoothie, so I'm going to be focusing on the painting after it's all carved. And they're going to be mounted in flying position. They're going to be flying one in front of each other, and it'd be mounted on a base that I'm going to carve, which I have not designed yet, which will be something I want to do. So that's the one there, and that's the second picture. It just shows you the body. The body was a lot of fun to carve, and I think I'm working on my rounding things around, so it's coming along. So I'm pretty pleased with it. So I got to admit, a lot of work with the knife, but there is a bit of sanding that went into the process, and so I'm just using a little bit of sanding to remove a bit of the marks with the knife, because they're smoothies, and I'll be painting them.
Looks very nice.
They're basswood. It's basswood. Thank you.
Nice. Any comments or questions for Baz? Thanks, Baz.
In the first picture, I think the wings were backwards, aren't they?
Yeah, they're backwards for sure. When I took the picture, I said, "Oh, too late. The picture's gone." Yeah, the leading. Yeah,
that's how they fly, either south or north, I guess.
Yeah, good observation there.
Those are nice. Thanks.
Good. Thanks.
Sue, you're on.
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Seems to be the question of the night, eh?
Yeah.
At the last meeting, I showed another Santa or a snowman from Wood Carving Illustrated, the one that Bruce Ankeny did, and it was pretty much a dead copy of the one that he did, and I wanted to try another one just in my own style, because I do like to keep the faces on things always just oiled wood, so I thought I'd give it a try. Change the hat and the sweater. Not much more you can change on a snowman. So there he is. So 2 done, none to go.
I like the posture though, and I know Bruce sort of came up with that posture, but it's a cute little posture, looking up, eh?
It is. I noticed Doug Linker had published a tutorial a couple of weeks ago now, where he's got the little 1x1s. And he was saying that he got the pose on those from Bruce's as well, and he's also made them so that their hands are behind their back, and it's just a little 1x1, but it's a good little carve. There's it's nice. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that have done them, but yeah,
looks cute.
Oh, this is another one here. Story with this one. It was another one of those deals where a rough out with no picture, no nothing. I thought, no problem. I recognize this. I have the book at home. I'm sure he's in there. So he's been sitting downstairs in my shop probably for more than 3 years and not started. And I pulled the book out, and he wasn't in there. So I couldn't find anything except one really bad picture online, and it was from a very odd angle. So this one has a lot of details added and a lot of details missing from the original, because I kind of did it off memory. But he's about 6 inches tall, sitting on a pile of rocks, and you can't really see it there, but he had a tail that was actually away from the body, like you would have been able to see it. And after I broke the second one, I said, that's it, no more tails. So you can see on the left-hand picture there, what I did was, you can't see it too well, but if I had a picture of the back, you could see I just wrapped it around and put it under the rocks. I said, that's it for this guy. And there's several washes on this guy, but I tried tilting the head a little bit. That's why I put the second picture in. So that was the first time trying that. I'm trying that with a few pieces now where the heads are tilted to the side, just to get a little bit of movement started. And so
nice little carving.
That's it for him.
Yeah. Thanks, Sue. Any questions for Sue? Comments?
Yeah, Sue, is the dragon's wings glued in?
No, no,
No,
they're
it's
not.
all one piece?
Yes, it is. It's all one
Oh.
piece. Everything is one piece on it. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well done then.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sue.
You're welcome.
Wayne, we recognize this guy.
One of my relatives, that is. My best buddy.
Yeah.
Well, what can I say? Actually, this one's been sitting on the bench for quite some time, and I just couldn't get motivated. The other day, I decided to paint him up, and I got him done. And that's when I sent the pictures in. But I still, as I told you in the email, haven't really figured out what he's going to be doing yet. And but I'm sure he'll be chasing something for put in the stew pot.
Now I'm looking at his mouth here.
Yeah, well, he forgot his teeth.
Yeah.
He left them home, so
Yeah.
yeah, that was actually part of my quest. I wanted to make him look like an old gentleman I happen to know, and I don't think the old gentleman will probably ever see this video, but I hope he don't anyway.
Don't mention his name at least.
No, never would do
That's
that.
That's a nice carving.
But that's typical. This is what I enjoy doing. I don't know how many of those I've carved, and no two are exactly the same.
Yeah,
it's a fun thing to do.
You do a nice
I
job.
love the way that the waist is down lower and the pants not only sagging, but the bum is down low too.
Oh yeah, he's pretty laid back. That guy is. Yeah, that originally, I like I said, I made a lot of those. I had a Mike Shipley book, I think it was, and it was some of his characters there, and I can't remember just which one it was. Anyway, I carved that, and he was standing. It was a hillbilly, and he was standing kind of slouched like that, and that's what it's evolved into, and so I just sort of adapted it to my characters. And
I love them. Okay, any comments or questions for Wayne?
Is the cap carved with the rest of the carving, or is it a separate piece?
No, the hat is a separate piece. The hat is separate. The head is separate. The gun, I carved the gun in one piece, but then I cut it in half and joined it in his hand. So I fit one in from the front, one in from the back. The body is all one piece. I do the hat. I don't know if you're familiar with Lynn Dougherty, and he showed how, of course, been 10, 12, 15 years ago, how to carve a cowboy hat and set it on the head. Well, there was no cowboys up here in Nova Scotia, so everybody's wearing a baseball cap. John Paul could tell you.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, that's how I fit the hat, the same way Dougherty does his cowboy hat. And when I always paint them, I paint the head separate, paint the hat separate, because you don't have to, get up and underneath around the ears and all that. So it's a lot easier. Then I glue everything together, and there'll be a little dowel in the connecting the head and the hat together. But everything's glued up pretty solid.
Very nice, Wayne. Thank you. Fred.
Hi there. I saw a picture of this way back a couple of years ago, and I just loved it. I thought I would try and recreate it, and it's not too bad. I don't think it turned out okay.
It turned out really well. I like the sign.
Yeah, I got a little bit of wood burning on that too.
Yeah.
And this one is made out of poplar, except for the base, and the tree, of course, it's separate. I started that 2 years ago for my daughter. She loves Snoopy, and I finally finished it. I think it looks pretty good.
I think it looks really good. Yeah. Nice work. Thanks, Fred. Any questions or comments for Fred? Thank you, Fred. And for those, you sent us in one or two, I think.
Yeah, so this is an ornament I did during the Christmas holidays for a family friend, and he stands it's done from a corner piece of basswood. He's like 2 inch corner piece of basswood. He stands about 4.5 inches tall. I carved him, and I like Mark yourself. I also follow Richard Holden Cartoons to Carvings on Facebook. So he does this kind of artwork at the back of his carving. So I just looked up one of his pieces and I sketched this design at the back, and then I wood burned it and kind of painted it. So I like it. I'll probably be doing it more on other carvings, but yeah, that's what
I
I
like
did.
Richard Holden's style of carving. He does a lot of ornaments, and like you, I like what he does to the back. And I've never done anything on the back of a carving before, so I don't know. I think it adds something. You did a nice job here.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments or questions for Firdos? Okay, thank you,
I think
everyone.
it's really nice, like you said, Mark, the way he did the back. I've never seen one quite that elaborate. It's really nice. Did a good job on that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Those are great examples of your carving. Okay, so let's finish up by talking about this whole notion of carving in the round. And John started us off by talking about a baseball bat. And you might have thought that that might have been a kind of a simple little carving, but it's hard to carve things perfectly round. And of course, a baseball bat is rounded. And so a really good example of that. And so John's going to just remind us really quickly, go through the steps that you would take if you haven't done it yet. And then I'll pick it up and talk about the next progression to that. So John, you're on.
Yeah, like the first one was it's a 1x1 by 4.5 inches long. I put a round circle at the top, at the bigger end, and a smaller circle at the smaller end. And I draw a line right down the middle on all four sides. And that gives you the idea to cut that corner, those corners right off up to the circle. So you get a round dowel. And it's bigger at the top and smaller at the bottom. And then you make a stop cut at the bottom for the handle. And you got to remember about the grain too. You got to pay attention to the grain because it does change about halfway through. And that way you flip the bat around, and it's focusing on roundness and the change of the grain. And then I make the wrap, another stop cut, and I bring the bat more smaller at the bottom again, so that it looks more of a shape, like it narrows it down to the wrap. And then I make stop cuts for the tape cut, stop cuts around there again, and then you got yourself a baseball bat. You can make it into decoration or a keychain holder. Put like somebody could put a little blue jay on there or whatever, and give it to as a gift. But it just gives you, creating a roundness, thinking about in the round and not blocky, and paying attention to the grain.
Okay, we got some really good examples. Nice. Yeah, we've got some really good examples here. So John, you can go through this with everyone, and I'll just click my way through. Okay. So Larry might want to say a little bit about this one.
Yeah, I did, John Paul. You really described it quite well with the circle and the grain and the different things. I found when I went to the handle part, I had to really watch it because once I gouged down there, the grain was a little different than the other part, so it went down a little deeper than I really wanted to.
Right.
But the way you described it with the stop cuts and the wood burning with a tape and all the stuff, I put my logo, I put my name on it, my bat. And yeah, all the way you described it was getting the circle and just taking your time and working with the circle all the way down. And then I had an actual baseball bat there. Thank you. And so I used that as my template. And yeah, it was kind of fun to, Mark asked me why I did it on the lathe. And that's when I felt pretty good that yeah, you just work with your template and just take your time. And the way you said it, Mark or John Paul, about breaking into quarters when I
Yeah.
do bodies and things like that, which I'm trying to do more and more and more. You don't think about the whole circle. You just take it at a quarter at a time. The way you explained it was so perfect because all you do is from one line to the other line and work at that part. You don't need to go all the way around a circle, just that section at a time.
Right.
And anyway, that's how I do it. And anyway, it came out pretty good. It was kind of a fun project, and the grain on it I thought was kind of neat. It's another piece of pine left over from that thing I did the lady. A whole bunch
Right.
of pine left over in my backyard here.
That's
And
excellent. Very good
so
job.
anyway, it's probably about 11 inches long, that one. So yeah, it came out. It was a fun project.
Right on. It looks really good. All right, Weenie.
That's from a true Blue Jay fan, a diehard Blue Jay fan.
Yeah, great job, Wayne.
I carved the top one first, following your instructions, and I agree with everything you said. As you taper it down, it does get more difficult and stuff. But as you've got to know me over the years, I can never leave anything just as it is. I have to take it a little further. And the way Guerrero's been batting the last few years, I'm sure he's got a hole in his bat. So
Nice job.
Very creative,
That's great.
Mr. Baz.
So that's work in progress. I still have to work on the
excellent
the tape at the bottom. This is all. It's about. I start with a 1 inch by 1 inch by 5 inch piece of wood, basswood, and it's a challenge. I tell you.
Oh yeah.
It seems simple, but it's a challenge. So I have a lot more work to do on it, but it's fun. It's fun to do. You can see with my pictures the high resolution, and you see the mark of the knife
right.
cutting through it. So to try to get really, really nice round is not easy.
No.
So
you can see really change the change of the grain there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And I got tricked a few times, and the wood, the grain will split on you and things. So
right.
You got to
flip that around. Yep.
Yeah. And so some more work to do on that one.
Sorry, Baz.
No, it's okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Jacques.
Hi, everyone. So that's my attempt to make the baseball bat. My wife's favorite sport is baseball, so I made a Christmas ornament for her.
Nice.
But I went by pictures, and she was quick to point at the portions are not right. Probably the handle is too thick, and I guess I missed the tape.
Yeah. Well, you can always go back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was busy at Christmas time, and I did not. But I thought it's not painted, so it would be easy to go back on the bench and clean it up.
Make it a little more narrower towards the tape.
Yeah, and add the tape. Yeah.
Beautiful. I like the ball. That's a nice add addition. Is that you dowel that in or glued it on or?
Yeah, it's glued on with a dowel. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice job.
I also like the way he carved the Christmas tree behind that.
Yeah.
That
is very realistic.
Yeah, but it's a fake one, unfortunately. Kids don't like that.
Well, I just tried to carve this quickly the other day, Mark. Now, looking at everybody's work, which is really nicely done, I realized that I missed the tape and all that. I have to thin down the top a little bit, so I'll go back and work on it and make it look a bit nicer.
Well, next month.
Yeah.
Hey, good start, though.
Yeah.
Wow. Debbie.
Hi, I carved this really small piece I could work on while I'm sitting in my lazy boy.
Yeah.
So I was carving this, and it is very difficult with the different grains of changing the grain from one side to the other, and so yeah.
Yeah, great job.
Good.
Put the tape on now.
Yep.
That's true.
It's going to slip. Mr. Thomason. Bob.
This is my Fred Flintstone bat. Need a little more work on it though.
Little Bam Bam bat.
Those are really good, aren't they?
They are, yeah. They're intricate.
Yeah.
Just to mention something here, Mark, that when we do a wand, carving the wand, the same principles that bat is done. You round it that way, and if you're not careful with those lines down the side, you'll have a wand that got a bend to the left or right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's really great, everybody. I think everybody did a really good job on that. So what we're going to do is present to you sort of the next step, and this is actually a person. So this is something that that I drew up. I was asked a few years ago to go to Queen's University and help them for the first time do some carving. And this was an art class, and Lloyd Thomas, who's often on our calls as well, joined me for that. And so I came up with this Queen's, I call him a hoodie, guys, and it's a nice progression to what John has been doing with the bat, because everything on this has to be round, and it has all the same principles you'd use when you put that bat together. And so this is what it looked like when it was finished. The guy on the left is what we did at Queen's. Probably took them about 4 hours to get to that point. So this is something that, you know, as experienced carvers that you are, you're probably going to do in 2 or 3 hours. So it's a nice, quick little carving, fun little carving, fairly straightforward because everything's round. The one beside it, that was the second one I did, and I decided to do something a little different. Not the hoodie, but a toque and a scarf, put a little park on them, and just add boots and just make it a little bit more fun. What I'd suggest to you is try the one on the left, and that would be a good exercise between now and our next session. And the way you start with that is the way you start with any caricature on a bandsaw. You'd have the front view and the side view based on the pattern that I first showed you. You'd take it to the bandsaw, it'd come off the bandsaw looking like it does on the right. And so I'm just going to do this for a minute so that I can use this pointer. Okay, so you'd cut out this piece as an example. These sides would fall off. You'd either glue the sides back on with a dab of glue or use paint, or tape rather, to adhere it back together. You turn it on its side. Now you'd cut off this side, and then you end up with something that looks like that. And so that's the bandsaw cut view of your little hoodie guy. As John was saying with the bat, the same thing goes with the grain direction of this guy. So because you have all these curves, the grain is going to be exposed in different areas. So if the grain is going up and down, you can imagine all the grain is going to be exposed here, all the grains exposed here, all the grains exposed here. If you take your knife now, whoops, if you take your knife now, you want to cut in the direction of the exposed grain so that all these exposed pieces of grain, you're pulling on those exposed pieces of grain and then cutting them. You can imagine if you had it going the other way and you were drawing your knife up here, your knife would catch in all that exposed grain and you'd split that wood right up through here. Okay, so it's important to keep turning it in your hands and managing that exposed grain. I always draw the blade to a stationary thumb. So you can see my thumb with a thumb guard on it. I've got it firmly on his head, and I'm just pinching with my pointer finger and the thumb and drawing the knife toward me. Never do I pull the knife with any force with that hand because that'll end up in your chest, right? Same thing in the other direction. Now the exposed grain is in this direction, so I've turned my knife and I'm cutting with the exposed grain. And again, here I push with the thumb. And so I'm not putting any force at all on this knife, on the hand that's holding the knife. All of the pressure is being put on with this thumb. That helps you really control where the knife is going to go. It's only going to go as far as your thumb can reach. So a couple of things to practice on this particular carving. When you get to the point where you've gone ahead and you've roughed it out, it's going to look something like this. So I'm just going to go back here and remind you that the center line was cut in here, was drawn in here. A center line was drawn in here, and I'm going to go from this center line to that center line, and as Larry was saying earlier, I'm dealing with a quarter at a time. That's a good way to think of it. And so it's not that I'm just cutting out this piece and rounding it out. I'm rounding from here, and it's going to be an even rounding all the way to there. And so when you get to that point, that's what it's going to start to look like you're roughing. Okay. Now, you're not going to be roughing in the feet because you're going to see in a minute that you're not sure which way the feet are going to be pointing, so you don't want that round here. And you're not going to round out the nose just yet either. You're going to leave that a little bit bulbous so you have room to play with the nose, okay? Turning it over, take a look at the bottom of the feet. You have that square piece. I just drew in a couple of feet and then with a knife just cut those pieces out as shown here and then started to round that. Now, again, it's all about rounding. So although you can't see, I've cut off the center lines, I would have drawn a center line down here, and I would have drawn a center line somewhere down in here as well and made sure I rounded from that center line up to the center line here. Okay, so again, it's all about rounding. In this view now, you're starting to deal with the bottom of the little hoodie. So make a little bit of a stop cut in here and start hollowing that out. So you start to see where the bottom of the hoodie is. Again, you can see all of the center lines that I keep drawing in as I carve them out. So this rounded section here is a smaller curve than this section here, and that's why it's underneath. That's why it comes out looking like it's underneath the hoodie. But again, it's just as round. So I would have drawn a center line there, I would have drawn a center line there, and I would have rounded with no flat spots to those two center lines. At that point, it starts to look like this. Again, it's all about the roundness. I started to cut in with just a stop cut here, just plunge in with your knife a stop cut for the bottom and top of the arms, and along here for where the hands go in the hoodie pouch, and then start to round that out. So I would have come here and drawn a center line right down that arm, and I would have imagined where the center line would have been inside the hoodie. And so now you can see here that it's rounded from that piece right to this center line and rounded from that center line to underneath. And so that's all hollowed out underneath here, still maintaining as much curvature, much roundness as I can at this point in roughing out. But you can see how that center line, this center line that came down here is still rounding the pouch, and that stop cut made a little bit of a cavity for the hands to fit within the pouch. All right, at this point, start deal with the hood. And so again, just a plunge cut all the way around the circumference of a face, and starting to now take this center line in his face with a center line that you're imagining somewhere back here inside the hoodie, but it's rounding, it ends up rounding from here all the way to that center line, and the same on the other side. And you can see the roundness of it here. Okay, can also see the nose is starting to get shaped a little bit, so just a nice little round nose, not a lot of detail in it. And then I just drew in a smiling face and a couple of squinted eyes, a very, very serene Queen's student. And that's what it ends up looking like. So with all of that rounding, you get sort of a very basic caricature. I added in a couple more plunge cuts here and hollowed out around there to make it look like a couple of drawstrings. The Queen's logo is a Q, so I put that in as a Q. All right. So start with something like that. If you enjoyed doing that and you want to go a little further, this is a fun little progression to that same carving. You're pretty much doing the same things in the carving, but now you're adding a few fun little details, like the toque. You see the herringbone design on the knitted toque. That's done with a wood burning tool. The eyes are open now, so I've come in and instead of just two quick cuts here to make squinty eyes, this is hollowed out a little bit with a gouge, and then the eyes are placed within that hollowed out section. Scarf was added with a few wrinkles on each side to make it look like it was stretched. This was fun. So this started out as the hoodie, but by just adding a few lines in here with your knife and a little zipper line, all of a sudden you got a good looking parka. And then with just a little bit of detail, you can add some boots in as well. Okay. So that's the idea behind that. What I've done, as I said, we went to Queens with this, so I put together all of the slides you just saw in just one PowerPoint sheet that I can send to you. So if you would like to try this carving. I hope you will, because it's a good progression to what John started us with on the baseball bat. Just send me an email, okay? And I'll get right back to you with this attachment. You can give that a try. Okay, folks?
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, any questions on anything I talked about there?
Let's allow everybody to give it a go.
On the one page, can you give out the form, the shape to cut out on the bandsaw?
Yeah, that's a good point, Jacques. I'll send that separately. Yeah, I'll send that separately to you. Okay. Okay, I think that's where we ended up for tonight. So thanks for joining us. Murray, you mentioned that John Lemay is taking over the reins as president, and we'd be remiss not to thank you for all the work that you've done and continue to do for us as carvers, as part of the OWCA, and just as the individual that you are for all carvers. And we know that you'll certainly continue with that, because you just can't stop.
Yeah, take care of yourself, Murray.
You have, when I have carvings like the chains and the boats and everything I've carved, they're in one big bin. If I take some of those, it's going to be smaller bins and a little slower.
Yeah,
put the wheels on the bins.
Yeah, that's
I'm looking at facing right now angiogram, which followed by maybe an angioplasty and a stent, and that kind of thing. So many of you have been there before, so you just know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, you'll get through it just fine. You're strong. You'll get through it real fine.
One day at a time.
That's right. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have fun with your carvings, and we'll see you in about a month's time, okay?